Hello and welcome to the Legal Eagle. Viewers, this week we have a show with a difference. We discuss a positive possible outcome of the COVID. We remember on 24th March 2020, when Prime Minister Modi had announced a total lockdown, even the courts of the country had been shut. This includes the Supreme Court and all the courts in the country. Today, we've come to a new phenomenon, virtual courtrooms. Today, we ask our guests, what is better for the way forward for courts in India? Physical, virtual or hybrid? Which way is the way forward? I welcome on the show today Managing Partner of one of India's most prestigious law firms, Karanjewala and Company, Mr. Ryan Karanjewala, and also Senior Advocate of the Supreme Court Bar Association's former head, Mr. Vikas Singh. Mr. Karanjewala, I first begin with you and I ask you, we've seen several people describe this as one positive outcome of COVID-19. It could be that there are today e-courts, virtual courts that could be seen to be a positive. The reason for this, a litigant is going to benefit. A litigant sitting in Dehradun, as I've said earlier, is going to benefit because if his case is coming in the High Court, he does not need to travel there. He will be able to see the judge, he will be able to see the lawyer and will know the outcome and the order very clearly. What, according to you, is the way forward, sir, for courts in India?
Let me first take your question, frame it for you, and then go ahead. See, one thing is clear, that choosing between a physical hearing and a virtual hearing, all lawyers actually prefer a physical hearing because it's much easier to argue when you're physically arguing before the court. Secondly, without a doubt, the courts also are much more efficient when they're hearing matters physically because they are able to do far more work. Throughout the lockdown, one thing that we have seen is that the quantity of matters that the court has been able to do has not been as much as it was doing pre-COVID. So there is no doubt that given a choice between just physical or just virtual, everyone would go towards a physical hearing. The question, of course, is when do we restart physical hearings in our courtrooms? And the further question is, when we look at the next normal, the future, what should it be? Should it only be again purely physical or should there be an element of the virtual in it? Here, I feel that when we look at the future, there should be definitely an element of the virtual in it, especially when you look at the apex court, which is the Supreme Court. The reason why I say that is this, that the Supreme Court is a court of all India geography. People from all over the country come to it, and I've always felt that one of the ways going forward could be that either we have on, say, one day every 2 weeks, a situation where the whole court sits virtually. And on those days, the registry lists matters which come from out of town, apart from the Delhi High Court, come from out of town. So as many lawyers who want to participate from out of town without having to physically come to Delhi are able to do so. That's one advantage. The other way to do it would be to have a permanent virtual bench simultaneously functioning so that people who want to argue from out of town virtually, don't want to come all the way to Delhi, hire a lawyer here, can handle the matter with their local advocate. These are two things that the court can certainly look at. The third, and this I think is the most important thing the court can look at, is this. Even if you're having a physical hearing, even if it's a local matter, there is no reason why the litigant can't log in virtually. See, the simple point is, the court is hearing the matter physically, both sides are arguing, but when the litigants, normally what happens to happen is that the litigant has to leave his work, come all the way to the court, find out, wait for his matter to reach, find out sometimes that it's just got adjourned, go back again, a whole day gets wasted. Here what can happen is you can have a system by which he can log in, watch his lawyer argue, understand what happened in his case, and still not affect his day-to-day working. So these are some of the things I feel going forward we can certainly look at.
Mr. Karanjewala, you also mentioned, therefore, in a country that's as populated, as vast as India, I agree that there needs to be most importantly, virtual hearings in e-courts, that could be a necessity. I also want to bring light to one more issue: the amount of environment that gets affected with the kind of filing that we have, whether it's in the Supreme Court or the other courts. This time we are saying that with this, that's also getting saved, because paper is getting saved. Digitally, we are moving forward. We also need to address this, as also we are seeing Justice Chandrachud say that when it comes to technology, tenders are being invited. He's also said there will be a better way forward.
Certainly, one thing that does need to be done going forward is to ensure that the court's ability to handle virtual hearings is greatly increased. So you will definitely have better hardware, you will definitely have better software, and that's certainly something I think that the courts and the government must invest in, especially, as I pointed out, from the point of view of the litigant. You see, there's so much wastage. If litigants have to come every day to the Supreme Court from different parts of the country to have an idea of how their matter is going on. Here, very simply, they just log in, and when their matter is over, they log out. And that can be done in a sort of, I'm sure over the years, that can be managed in a seamless way. India has been very fortunate that it's the home to infrastructure software companies. So there are so many companies which are, there's TCS, there's Infosys, there's Wipro, there's HCL. There's so many companies which can provide the software which will make this easy. So I definitely feel that this is something that should be looked at, should be invested in. Of course, there will be a saving on paper, but there are many other things also. Look at the amount of man-hours saved and the amount of travel time saved and the amount of petrol, etc. saved when people just don't have to come to court. And this is not just for the court in one city, in Delhi. This is for courts all over. I mean, a lot of people in the different districts who have to travel every day to, a lot of litigants who have to travel every day to court to see what happens, see whether their lawyer appears, see how their lawyer argues. All that time is saved. He can just log in and he can log out. And suddenly you will find that the courts themselves become a much less crowded place, as a result of which, when you have, if God forbid, we have to deal with another pandemic in the years to come, we'll be much better equipped to do so, because at least you will have cut out the population of the litigant coming to court. So there are certainly many advantages in the virtual hearing. As I said in an earlier TV debate, every cloud has a silver lining. And the silver lining for the courts at least and for the lawyers of this pandemic has been that we have begun to familiarize ourselves with the concept of virtual hearing. We've begun to familiarize ourselves with the concept of virtual conferencing. For example, one thing I'm quite certain about going forward is, as far as my firm is concerned, and many other firms like ours, and many other individuals, when we're having a conference with a senior counsel, what used to happen is 5 people have to get in, come from different parts of the city, converge at the senior counsel's place, wait for him to finish his earlier conference, then get in, then finish, then go drive all the way back home or back to office and so on. All that gets cut out because the waiting gets cut out, the time saving is there. All you do is log in at the appropriate time, have your full conference. If there is 1 or 2 things which he needs you or wants you personally to be there to this thing, you can meet him the next day in court or even at his own conference chamber, 5 minutes, and clarify a few loose ends if there are any required to be done. So this is something that we have to constantly look at, constantly think, constantly innovate.
Very interesting, because Mr. Karanjwala, over the years, as a prestigious law firm that you have, I've seen several people from your law firm at different senior advocates' places when I'm myself waiting to get a reaction, whether it's Dr. Singhvi, whether it's Mr. Salve, whether it's Mr. Rohde, or any other senior that's being briefed by your law firm. Do you think personally your law firm also, like you said, now in the future will be making use of the technology that has come forward, and like you said, in the future it makes a lot of sense to be saving time and to ensure that other technologies used to be briefing seniors, because I have seen a lot of seniors are also making use of this. There are outstation briefs that are being given to seniors, whether they are in Goa, whether they're in UK, whether they're in Missouri. All of them are being able to be briefed. They're doing their work from there, and they're also able to be coming to the Supreme Court or any other courts in the country from whatever place they are actually at.
Absolutely. See, for example, in a sense, we are very fortunate that one of our top lawyers is able to argue in our courts today, even though he's based in London. And you know I'm talking about Harish Salve. There are many other lawyers also who are situated in different parts of the country. Suddenly they find that they can Instead of having to come down or their clients not wanting to fly them down, they can just come in from Bombay, argue before the Supreme Court, go back. Or counsels from Delhi or counsels from any part of the country can go in, log in before a tribunal, log in before a different high court, and so on. So it has suddenly opened up. And that is why I said, even as I said right in the beginning, there is no doubt that an actual physical hearing is a far more satisfactory way of communicating your point than virtually, because of a variety of issues, which every counsel will agree with. But nevertheless, there are many advantages that even a virtual hearing has. And therefore, even I think going forward, if the courts were to relegate one day in, say, every 2 weeks just for virtual hearing, or a partial part of their court would function only in a virtual way, it wouldn't harm the system at all. And as far as my own firm is concerned, to answer the question that you asked earlier, I certainly hope so. Because look, what used to happen is somebody had to go to Singhvi's place for a conference, somebody had to go to Rohtgi's place for a conference, somebody had to go to Nariman, somebody had to go to Sorabji's, and so on and so forth. And therefore, people get into different cars. You had to have huge amount of clerks because carrying all the briefs down, putting them into different cars, sending the people to different conference places. Then they're waiting, they're not waiting. Here, there's so much saving of time and efficiency. First, you save the time and efficiency. You just save the time you would have spent traveling. Secondly, you save the time that you would spend waiting in the senior counsel's conference for your turn to come. When your turn comes, you log on. Till then, you sit in your own office and you do whatever work you can. And then it's also easier for clients who might not have chosen to attend the conference because they had to fly down from Bombay to just attend the conference virtually. So overall, there's a much more satisfactory way of at least conferencing with senior counsels than there would be if you have to be physically present all the time. There's no doubt about it that these are things that our eyes have just opened up. And sometimes when you travel down a new road, you find that it is greener than you thought it would be. And I think that is what is going to happen. Certainly, I hope my firm, and I intend to see that my firm adopts as much of virtual conferencing with counsels as possible or with clients as possible, because it saves us time, it saves us cost, it saves the client time, it saves the client cost. And this is certainly something that one should endeavor to do. Also, just sitting in one place, you can do 3 conferences.
Absolutely.
A junior counsel can finish one conference with Singhvi, jump onto another conference with somebody else, jump onto a third conference with somebody else. Why not? And everybody is satisfied. You see, there is no reason why you can't communicate over the video screen what you can communicate in person. So everybody ends up satisfied, everybody ends up the happier, costs are saved, time is saved, clients are happier, so why not?
My last question, Mr. Karanjewala, several lawyers have written to the Chief Justice then. They ask that there are certain younger lawyers who get affected, and that's what they say. And there's one more thing that is also coming up. Oral mentionings in the Supreme Court, sir, they say, are not able to happen, and that is one of the things that should be made better. How do you think that can happen?
So there are 2 things. I agree that, and I also believe that this system of virtual conferencing is loaded in favor of the larger organizations, because we have the technology, we have the manpower, we've got the ability to invest and so on. But certainly even juniors can invest in minimal technology, a laptop, an iPad, a phone. I mean, these are things that everybody has. You can make do with it. Yes, it's possible that the youngsters do suffer to some extent. But over a period of time, they will also find that it picks up. Frankly, I feel that mentioning is especially in the Supreme Court, because as in the Delhi High Court, for example, if you file a matter today, it gets listed on the next day. So mentionings are not so urgent over there. But in the Supreme Court, mentioning is certainly urgent, because getting a matter listed which is urgent is half the trick. And frankly, one of the pitfalls of this whole system of virtual hearing has been that for some reason people feel that there is not enough capacity or whatever. This has been just done away with. Now, that certainly has to be reinstated. In fact, one of the suggestions I had made in some other place where I was speaking was that, frankly, there is no reason why the chief himself and with 2 other benches cannot do oral mentionings the evening earlier. All right, if there's not enough capacity to do it in the daytime, work towards distributing mentioning between 3 benches and just taking off 1 hour in the evening yourself and hearing them virtually, and then deciding which matter is urgent, which matter is not urgent, and then placing those matters on board. Because certainly an inability to get a matter listed is one of the pitfalls of this pandemic and the way matters have been heard virtually.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yes, Rhythm, anything else?
Mr. Karanjwala, I wholeheartedly agree that I think this is one of those things that needs to be seen as a silver lining of the COVID-19, and I'm completely going to agree that possibly 1 or 2 days of the week should be kept for this. This is something we're going to move at. Viewers, also after a short break, we're going to come back to see the other side, why Senior Advocate Vikas Singh believes that the way ahead for him is physical hearing. Mr. Vikas Singh, senior advocate and also someone who's very closely seen how the Supreme Court works as he was heading the Supreme Court Bar Association. Mr. Vikas Singh, my first question then to you. You've also personally written to the Chief Justice of India. We've also seen 505 lawyers write to the Chief Justice of India. All of them say it's time for physical hearings to be back. They say the young lawyers are suffering. You've also said this. They also say oral mentionings in the Supreme Court are suffering. What is the true picture? Why do you believe, sir, at a time when several people say e-courts, virtual hearings could be the way to go, it is time for physical hearings to be brought back?
Well, there are several issues as far as virtual hearing and physical hearing is concerned. Now, there are issues with regard to lawyers practicing in Supreme Court. There are issues of the technology that is there for virtual hearing, whether that technology is good enough to support the full, normal court functioning or not. Now, as far as Supreme Court is concerned, there is a very typical problem. The clients here, firstly, are, basically the litigation starts in the high courts or lower courts. So the clients really are of the lawyers from the lower courts only. And they come here because they are forced to come here because they have to engage somebody in Supreme Court. Now, in the virtual hearing that has been happening so far, and that has affected the young lawyers of the Supreme Court, that high court lawyers are filing matters sitting from the high courts itself and arguing also wherever a senior engagement is not to take place. Now, people like me are not affected, so seniors are not affected. I am being engaged on a daily basis. In fact, I have the opportunity to appear in Jharkhand, in Patna, in Allahabad, in Coimbatore, wherever. I mean, anywhere in the country, I am appearing sitting in Delhi. So, seniors who are known and who are being briefed otherwise, they are not affected. But the young lawyers are not getting any work because the work has been taken away to the outside Delhi courts, and litigants are preferring to engage somebody who has already known the case and has been with the case for some time, rather than engaging a new lawyer, coming to Delhi and engaging a new lawyer. That's one problem. The other problem is that the infrastructure that has been in place so far is highly inadequate to support all the courts functioning in full capacity. So, like for instance, when I talked about oral mentioning before the Chief Justice of India, he said in open court, he said, and it was reported also in bar and bench, etc., that bandwidth problems are there and we are not able to do open court hearing. Now, I have very serious issues on that. Bandwidth problem cannot be a limiting factor for justice delivery. Justice delivery is one of the most important aspects of a democratic polity. And if the justice delivery is not fully, geared up, the common man ultimately suffers. So I said that, for instance, the Chief Justice has during the pandemic sat only at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, whereas the normal timing is 10:30. So I said, why can't the Chief Justice have sat for an hour before 10:30 to 11:30, before normal work, so that the bandwidth could be exclusively used for mentioning, rather than, mixing mentioning with the normal working, where you have to give links to the lawyers whose matters are listed on that day as well. So that is the other problem as far as bandwidth issue is concerned. Thirdly, if you see a common man, a man who can't afford high-priced lawyers, he goes for those small lawyers, those young lawyers, who are ready to, because who are still learning and who are ready to provide justice at much cheaper rates. Now, the common man is the biggest sufferer. He is not able to engage those small, because the work is being done by these law firms or these high-profile lawyers or these senior advocates. So, the common man is not able to get justice. Because as it is, Supreme Court is functioning at almost 20% of its capacity. So a common man who would engage a common lawyer who is not technologically so, sort of savvy, and because of which reason he's not able to get justice at all. So for him, a common man, the justice delivery has virtually remained suspended for all these 10 months. So it's very, very important that we start a physical hearing, and especially when the entire country is opening us, the positivity rate has gone down to 0.2%. WHO says positivity rate below 5% is like normal, not like normalcy. And today in Delhi it is 0.2%. So every 1,000 people who are being tested, only 2 are testing positive. So there is no reason why the Supreme Court should not start opening fully in the physical mode.
One of the rare times in the Legal Eagle that I'm actually left with hope and a smile when you say that out of 1,000, only 2 are testing positive. Mr. Singh, that's a lovely statistic you're giving out. I also want to ask you, a lot of people say the one positive that has come out of this particular COVID is the fact that we could possibly be looking at e-courts. Do you not think this could be something that could be seen as cost effective?
Well, I personally feel that, there could be a hybrid mode for hearing. And when I'm talking of hybrid, I'm talking only of the Supreme Court, because I'm today more concerned about this institution, because I'm very, very integrally connected with this institution and the legal fraternity of this institution. When I say hybrid, I mean that there should be cables within the Supreme Court, either LAN cables or optical fiber cables, and there could be cubicles provided in the Supreme Court campus itself, where a person who feels that he is very high comorbidity, he can go into the cubicle and argue from there. Now, if you have LAN cables or optical fiber cables and not the airways as we traditionally understand internet to be, so if it is through LAN or through optical fiber, the bandwidth issue will not come firstly at all. So, and the hybrid could be that if somebody feels that he can go inside a courtroom and he can, he doesn't feel the risk, he can go and argue there with the mask or whatever. And if somebody feels that, or if somebody is today vaccinated, or if somebody has already had it, those people can easily go inside the court and argue. Somebody who's, very high comorbidity and he feels that he is in risk, he can either, take a break for some time. I mean, this is, if your life is that important, then that is also an option. Or you can go into one of those cubicles and argue by that mode. Now, I would, in the long run, I mean, going forward, I would feel that having something online where the entire country is connected by wires, and a junior lawyer in Delhi also has the opportunity to file matters in Patna and are also in Coimbatore or any other city in the country, and vice versa. Probably that could be one way forward. But today the problem is like Bombay High Court has already gone physical. So a lawyer here can't appear in Bombay unless he goes to Bombay, whereas a Bombay lawyer can appear in Bombay as well as appear in Supreme Court. So that anomaly which is existing today, I think needs to be corrected very fast. And ultimately, the institution has been set up for the litigants. It is not for us, it is not for lawyers, it is not for the judges, it is for the litigants. And if the litigants are not getting justice, if matters are not being listed urgently, then it's a very grave cause for concern, and that is why this physical hearing at the earliest should start. And if there is a hybrid mode to be considered, that should be considered later when normal times come in.
Yes, and Mr. Singh, I will not waste too much time. My last question. I have seen you in the Bombay High Court when you went there to fight in the Sushant Singh Rajput case quite recently. The Bombay High Court is doing very rare virtual hearings. I'm told it's usually on Fridays. You're absolutely right. They're moving and inching much more towards physical hearings, as is the Delhi court as well as the Karnataka High Court. So the last question here that I wanted to ask you, when it comes to cost cutting, when it comes to the paper, the enormous amount of papers that are being wasted in the courts when it comes to physical hearings, wouldn't it be better to have e-courts to streamline the process, to ensure, we've seen paper books after paper books, volumes after volumes come with one particular case that comes forward. If there could be any way to save that, even for the environment when it comes to this, wouldn't it be better to have a hybrid system? Like you said, it's the litigant who suffers. For example, if a litigant is in Dehradun, to go to the High Court is 700 kilometers away. In this manner, the litigant sitting in Dehradun would be able to comfortably see what his lawyer is arguing and also what the judge is going to say on his case?
Well, as far as e-filing is concerned, this is an initiative which has been taken in the Supreme Court quite a number of years back. If I remember correctly, Justice Madan Lokur was heading that committee. Now Justice Chandrachud is heading that committee. And e-filing is definitely a way forward, and it is definitely environment friendly. And because the kind of paper we use in Supreme Court, each paper book may be responsible for cutting down probably several trees. I mean, there is a bulky paper book to be filed. But the opportunity for a litigant to actually hear the hearing is something which is a way forward and which should happen. And when we are talking of, bringing in televised hearings, I don't see why a litigant sitting anywhere in the country should not be able to log in when his matter is called out by getting some kind of a OTP or some kind of a password protected access into the hearing. Because now with these e-hearings, virtual hearings that have taken place, the cameras are all set. So those only need to be activated so that a litigant need not come here and witness the hearing physically. He could do that virtually from wherever he was, and that will be a very, very positive step for justice delivery, I personally feel.
I thank both Mr. Ryan Karanjewala and Mr. Vikas Singh for sharing their opinions with us. It's clear that it could be wonderful and very beneficial for the litigants if virtual hearings maybe 2 days a week was the way forward, because it could be cost effective as well as time effective. Viewers, thank you for being with us on The Legal Eagle this week. See you next week.